Alright, quiz 4 study guide. And number 1 is a repeat problem from last week, where it says that the grid shows the positions of the subway stop and your house. So you need a coordinate plane. -7, 8. Subway stops at -7, 8. So -7 and 8 is right here. 6, 4 is the other location. So 6 and 4 is your house. And they're asking you, what is the distance between the two? So we said to connect these 2 points, turn this diagram into a right triangle. So here's your 90-degree angle. Your vertical change goes from 4 to 8, so this side is 4. Your horizontal change goes from -7 to 6, so this side is 13. You can label the sides A, B, and C. And you need the length of the hypotenuse. So 4 squared plus 13 squared equals C squared. And 4 squared plus 13 squared is 185. And if you find the square root of both sides, .6. 13.6 units is the hypotenuse. So there's your length. Number 2, you're asked to find the lengths of the missing sides of the triangle. Round your answers as integers or as decimals to the nearest tenth. So you've got this picture. This is another follow-up problem from last week. Special right triangle. You got a 45-degree angle down here on the bottom. You've got a side equal to 8. Hypotenuse is x. The side on the right, or the second leg, is y, and the other interior angle is z. We said last week that in a right triangle, if one of the angles is 45 degrees, then the other angle is 45 degrees. If the 2 acute angles of a right triangle are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. So y would be equal to 8. This is called a special right triangle now. And in a special right triangle, or a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, the hypotenuse is the square root of 2 times longer than the legs. So x would be equal to 8 times the square root of 2. And you can do that. You can leave it as 8 square root of 2. But your quiz is not going to be multiple choice this week. So you're going to have to turn everything into a decimal. Alright? So you're going to multiply 8 times 2 square root in your calculator. Which is 11.3. So your x is 45 degrees, your y is 8, and your z is 11.3. Number 3. Number 3. Another right triangle problem. You've got a 30-degree angle here. X, Y. This interior angle is Z, and this side is 11. if this is a right triangle and one of the interior angles is 30, then the other interior angle is equal to 60 degrees. Your rules for a 30, 60, 90 right triangle are the short side times 2 equals the hypotenuse. So y equals 11 times 2, which is 22. The other rule for a 30, 60, 90 is that the short side times the square root of 3 equals the long side, or the long leg. So your x would be equal to 11 times the square root of 3. And in your calculator, 11 times square root of 3, that's 19. Alright, we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so that's 19.0, that's 19.0. Check that, that's going to be 19.1. 19.1. Now, these next three problems, you did this work yesterday, but the format looks a little bit different. So number 4, the question is tan of what equals 65? Tan of what angle equals 65? Yesterday we talked about using tan -1. So the answer to this problem is tan -1 of 65. Okay? So in your calculator, you either need to enter 65, then push second tan, or depending on the type of calculator, you go tan -1 and type in the 65. So when you go tan -1 of 65, that's equal to 89. Number 5 asks for cosine of what number is equal to 2/5. So that's, in the calculator, that's cosine -1 of 2/5. Second cosine. That's 66.4. And number 6, sine of what angle is equal to 5/19. So you take sine -1 of 5/19, and that's 15.3. Alright, number 7. You're asked to write the tangent ratios for y and z. So here's your triangle. Right there, yep. Alright, so you need tan of y. Your acronym, Sohcahtoa, is what you can use to remember your ratios. So tan of y equals tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So the opposite of y is 7. Adjacent to y is the 4. So 7/4. Tan of z. Tan of z. Now you're looking at the angle up top. You need opposite over adjacent. Opposite of z is 4. Adjacent to z is 7. Those are your two tangent ratios for angles y and z. Number 8. A, B, and C. Ten, 26, 24. You're asked for sine of A and cosine of A. So sine of angle A equals, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite of A is 24. Hypotenuse is 26. And then just go ahead and simplify that. 24 and 26 are even. They're both divisible by 2. So that's 12 over 13. Second part of the question is cosine of A. Cosine of A is equal to, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent to A is 10. The hypotenuse is still 26. And 10/26 simplifies to 5/13. So there's your sine of A and your cosine of A. Problems 9, 10, and 11 are just like what you did yesterday in class. Those are solve the triangle problems. So on number 9, triangle, you got a 20 and an 11 and your 90-degree angle. You've got angle X, angle Y, and side Z. So if we solve angle X first, solve for angle X first, we're working with adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse is a cosine ratio. So cosine of X equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which means the measure of angle X, so if we go cosine -1 of 11/20 will give us the measure of angle X. So that is going to be second cosine, 11 divided by 20, and that's 56.6. 56.6. And we're going to round angles to the nearest whole number. That makes this, we're going to call this angle 57 degrees. So angle X is 57 degrees. Angle Y is equal to 90 minus 57. 90 minus 57 is 33. So those are your two angle measures, 57 and 33. To find side Z, you're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. So you would have 11 squared plus b squared equals 20 squared. So 121 plus b squared equals 400. You can subtract 121 from each side. B squared would equal 279. And then you're going to find the square root of each side. So B equals 16.7. So your Z variable is equal to 16.7. Number 10. Got a side of 12 and a hypotenuse of 15. Your variables are y, x, and z. Your acronym is Sohcahtoa. So if we solve for angle x first, in this diagram we've got opposite and hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. Sine of x equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse, which means that sine -1 of 12/15 gives you angle x. So second sine, 12 divided by 15, 53.1, so that's 53 degrees. So this angle down here in the bottom is 53 degrees. 90 minus that angle gives you angle y, which is 37 degrees. And side z, again, the Pythagorean Theorem. (12 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared. 144 plus b squared equals 225. Subtract 144. B squared is going to equal 81, and the square root of both sides, your b is going to be equal to 9. So this side of your triangle is 9. And last, but certainly not least, number 11. (16:7) right angle. Here's angle x, here's angle y, and side z. Going to find angle x first. In relation to angle x, you are dealing with, or you are given, its opposite side and its adjacent side. So the tan of x equals opposite 16 divided by 7. So this angle measure, tan -1 of 16 over 7, will give you the angle measure of x. So second tan, 16 divided by 7, 66 degrees. So our angle x is 66 degrees. 90 minus 66 gives you angle y, which is 24 degrees. If you label these sides A, B, and C, you can do the Pythagorean Theorem again to solve for side C, which is variable z. 16 squared plus 7 squared equals c squared. So 16x squared plus 7x squared, 305 equals c squared, and find the square root of both sides. $17.5 is equal to c. So your third variable is equal to 17.5. And that concludes your study guide for quiz number 4.